Hey there. Thanks for hanging out with K-Dubs and listening to the podcast. Much appreciated. Check us out on YouTube. Shoot us an email. Let us know how we're doing. Hanging out with kdubs@gmail.com. And as always, enjoy the next episode.
I don't want to rip it off the table.
You ain't going to rip it off the table. I mean, you just,
These guns,
Yeah. There you go. That's pretty good.
How's that?
That's
pretty
good.
All right,
yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
Don't want to cover the moneymaker.
Well, luckily, I set it up this way so the money-making shot is from this angle.
Gets the double chin.
You got a beard, so you really can't see it like me. You keep the double chin tucked away in there,
She said, get rid of the double chin, so I tried to grow a beard. That'll work.
Thanks, honey. Appreciate the confidence there, right?
Right.
Well, Dean, it's good to have you here.
Yeah, Kyle, I appreciate the invite. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming and taking time out of your busy schedule because you're a busy man.
Yeah, I got a couple things going on, for sure.
So, a little background on us. We went to Harvard High School together.
Well, shoot, all the way through grade school.
Yeah,
right?
pretty much. I mean, I think you're a year or two younger than me, but...
I was a year younger, and my brother was in your class.
That's right. Yeah. I remember your brother. I remember you too, but I've seen more of your brother than you, obviously. But
right.
When we got into high school, it seemed like that's when we seen a lot more of each other.
That's right. We had classes together, geology, all that.
That was fun.
Yeah.
It's just crazy how fast time goes.
I know.
I mean,
15 plus years, yeah.
I graduated in 6.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
You know, I mean, think about that. We're coming up on freaking 20 years being out of high school.
I know. It's pretty incredible.
So where did the time go?
I can't tell you.
Holy balls. It's like...
I'm at the point in my life where I'm starting to appreciate it a little bit more. You know, you see all that, and it's like, man, where did that time go? So you're trying to catch up with, going out on vacation or seeing people, family, friends, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
It's tough to keep everything balanced too, you know. It's a pain in the ass, but it is what it is. And then you just brought that up. You were working at Sullivan's when that was still in town.
Yeah.
And I was at Little Caesars just right down the strip mall there.
Yeah, all my siblings worked at Sullivan's, so I started my career there right when I turned 16. Couldn't wait to get a real job per se. Make $6.50 an hour. That was a lot of money back in high school.
It was. You know, you think about that back then. It was just like, God dang. You know, we had it made.
Yep.
No big responsibilities, and just go make a little money and go do what you wanted to do. And
well, it paid off. Bought my first car, cell phone, insurance, gas, all that good stuff. And my folks were like, well, if you want it, go get it. So
they're absolutely right, because I think that's what we got to do here.
That's right.
But that's just the way it goes. It seems like sometimes, and the way life is. It's good to be raised that way too, because now you know that if you want it, you got to go earn it.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Go get it done.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it's fun to think about that.
Yeah, it is.
To make sure that we've got that ingrained into our systems and our brains. Like, oh, you want that new car? Fine, go earn it.
Go get it.
Go get it.
That's right. They didn't. My dad helped with my first pickup, he helped me buy it at Gary Lang. Right. It's I think it was 06 when I bought it. It was my first vehicle. I'm super excited. I wrote the down payment, but he was there just to kind of guide the way and sign the check, because it was, I wasn't old enough to get a finance loan. Right. But I paid every payment: down payment, loan, insurance, gas, maintenance, everything.
Yeah, I was the same way. I mean, I turned 16, and my dad had bought a different truck at that time. He's like, "You want to buy the old truck?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll buy it."
Yeah.
So I got a loan and made those payments and paid the insurance and the fuel and the breakdowns, and which everything breaks down. We all know that.
I do recall that truck. It's the one with the big old push bar on it you had welded on there?
That was the second truck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the second truck that I had. The first one was a 91 Silverado. It was black and gray, two-tone.
Okay.
Which you don't see that anymore.
No, you don't. Definitely
Sucks, because two-tone is awesome.
Yeah, I think there's some retro stuff now going on. But, I think my brother used to hang out with you going out in the fields and such, if I recall. But we won't get into that.
Yeah, that's been quite a while ago.
Yeah.
So anyway, obviously we're not in high school anymore.
That's right. It's
We're
been a while.
Quite a ways away from that. what are you doing? What's your full-time job doing now?
Yeah, good question. So back in August of 22, I picked up a new job down in Carpentersville. Out of school back in 2012 when I finished my undergrad, got into sales marketing. It's really something I kind of stuck with and I enjoyed. So I had a couple jobs, but this one down in Carpentersville, we do, it's called RevCore, I should say. We do fan blades, blower motors, so air conditioners, things like that, your furnace, you're going to see fan blades everywhere.
Is that like a certain name product that goes into, I don't know enough about air conditioning units and whatnot, but
we're going to be like OEM spec'd in for all the big name brand, Trane, Goodman.
Gotcha.
All that stuff.
So sure. You guys build the fan motors for
the blades.
The blades for them.
Yeah, and then we can get motors, but we don't specifically do that. It's mostly the blades and blowers.
So you're in sales for that then?
That's right. Yep.
So take me through that because I don't understand how you go. I mean, obviously you're in sales. Obviously you're selling fan blades, but how do you go about doing that?
Yeah. Good question. I'm actually on the aftermarket side. So really everything is already spec'd in. So I might have a customer that, hey, I got this blower or this fan blade. I need 500 of them, right? It's been bought before, back in 2000 per se, where millions were sold. But hey, I only need a few hundred now, right? So,
gotcha.
So I work on that side of the business, but we do have a complete engineering team where they're speccing in brand new units. They're going to go through everything, get it, cross your T's, dot your I's. Sound is a huge issue. Efficiency. They're going to want to make sure it's the best of the best, and Agreed. That's really what they do.
So you are on the aftermarket side. So then, who do you sell to then? Who's your primary sales? Do they go to these big air conditioning companies? Are you contacting them and hey, we can do this for you? Or?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They'll reach out, Carrier, Trane, Goodman. They do also have an aftermarket side as well, but there are plenty of customers that we want to become distributors as well. So we're not really selling onesie twosies. We're selling, hey,
500 of them,
500
1,000 at a time or whatever.
Yeah, stock these units. You can ship them off to the HVAC techs, etc. Yeah.
So do you guys make the fans there at your place?
Yeah, Carpentersville, and then we have a plant in Mexico as well. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So when you're doing that, let's just say you got a new customer that comes in that needs a complete different style fan that you guys have ever sold before.
Yep.
So can you guys spec it, print it, cut it, build it right then and there, and ship it out at that point?
Yeah, I mean, usually we would call that a sample per se. It can usually be done within a week or two. But there are projects that might go on for a couple of years, believe it or not, because there's so much competition and they're going to want to make sure they're the best of the best before they put that in the market. So it could go through all sorts of different sample phases just to, make sure they're speccing it correctly.
Yeah, and competition's good though.
100%.
Because I'm a firm believer in it, whether it's in the fan blade industry or the agriculture industry or the car industry, because then everybody's got to be on top of their game all the time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now, mistakes can be made. We all know that.
Sure.
But usually if you're in that business and you are a leader in that business, you pretty well know what the hell you're doing.
That's right. Yeah, there's quite a bit of talent there. In fact, so many people that are just 30, 40 years in the industry at this company.
Really?
A gal just retired after 50 years in December.
No
Yeah, I was
kidding.
Great lady. She was just fantastic.
That ain't going to be me, right?
Hey, you know what? We'll see what happens. I've had a few jobs, but, this one, I will admit it's a lot of good people. They really do care. It's a family-run company. In fact, I heard about it through Lee Frick, Eric Frick's father.
Okay.
He worked there for, I want to say 16 years, give or take.
Wow.
So it was a really cool connection when a recruiter reached out and they're like, hey, we have this potential opportunity for you. And I'm like, hey, what is it? Okay. Talked about it a little further. And then I'm like, man, I know that name, RevCore and fan blades. Well, it turns out Lee Frick worked there as mentioned, but Eric Frick, his son, we used to work together over at Illumitank in Harvard, and he would mention it every once in a while. Hey, my father works here. And I was like, that was back in 2010, 2012. So fast forward 10, 15 years, and you're in this new place as well. So
It clicked then.
small world.
It really is a small world.
Yeah.
I remember, just to kind of piggyback off of that, I remember one time I was in Orlando, Florida. I was down there for
Nice.
John Deere. We were doing some training, and I'm sitting in the friggin' airport. It's like 11 o'clock at night, getting ready to fly out. And this old man walks up and, hey, you mind if I sweep? Yep. So I get up and he starts sweeping, and we got to talking. And, he says, well, where are you flying to? And I said, Northern Illinois. And he goes, we're at Northern Illinois. I said, well, you probably don't know, but I'm about 70 miles, northeast of Chicago. And he says,
Right.
well, I'm from Twin Lakes. I'm like, no shit.
Okay.
And he says, yep.
Yeah.
The wife and I retired and decided we're going someplace warm. And he says, well, I got bored. So I figured I'd come sweep in the airport.
That's crazy. It's
a small world.
Yeah, we're actually in Twin Lakes now, Kendall and I, but we just bought back in July. But yeah, it is crazy. I mean, same situation. I was in Houston for work for a different job, and I was living in Palatine, Illinois, which is about an hour outside Chicago, northwest burbs, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Oh, I'm from Des Plaines, this gas station attendant, and we're buying some beer and stuff."
Yeah, I know where that's at.
Like, you're just a couple of stops away on the train. Yeah, I know.
It is just, you think about how big this world is, and you think about something like that, and you go, God, it's just tiny.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, you fly anywhere, and you can meet somebody that's from your area. You can almost promise that.
That's right. I think what's funny is when you find someone, in a different state, and they're like, I'm from Illinois. I moved out because of taxes and all that stuff.
Oh, I cannot blame them at all. This state is, it's getting ridiculous. It really is.
That's why we moved. We are right on the border, literally State Line Road. Yeah.
Then just on the north side, not the
Just
south,
on
right?
the north side. If you look on Google Maps, the line is right through our front yard.
Really?
Believe it or not, yeah. But majority of our property is in Wisconsin, which is perfect.
So do you pay taxes for both sides then?
That's a good question. I only have overseen a Wisconsin tax bill, so let's hope we keep it that way.
Well, I'm sure that little itty bit that cuts across there, it's only going to be like $5,000 or something.
Yeah, it'd probably be more than the Wisconsin side for sure, but you're not wrong.
And it also depends where you're at in Illinois too, because
Right.
I know once you get away from Chicago and you get away from not quite St. Louis, but you get out of the big cities, then the taxes tend to help out some, but it's still not like other places.
Right. Yeah, and there's no rhyme or reason. It's just so hard to keep track of. I mean, it's, what do you go by? The size of the house, the land, and, you'll see one house that's paying less, but it's completely massive compared to this dwarfed little house that's, and...
Yeah, I can't make sense of it all, but then again, I'm not in that industry either, so I'm sure the people that are in that industry will probably write me an email and go, oh, this is why this is that is,
Yeah.
Please send it, because I'd like to know.
That's right.
So, obviously, I don't have you here because of your fan blade job. I have you here because of your business, Gray Muzzle Woodwork.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is something that you do outside of your 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So to kind of, take it back to the beginning.
Yeah, do that.
Let's do that. Okay. All right, cool. So I was working at a place in Schaumburg, and I've had a couple jobs, but good little company and enjoyed it. COVID hits, right? 10 weeks in Illinois, shut down, right? What are you going to do? There's restaurants are closed, movie theaters. You can't do anything, right? And we're in the Chicago burbs. So, I mean, you're just stuck at home, right? So I was just on Facebook, just perusing, and saw some gardening planters, and I just started building them because, Kendall wanted them, and she wanted to do some designs around the house. I'm like, yeah, sure, keeps me busy.
You got it, hon.
Yeah. Any reason to buy new tools, right?
That's right.
Anyway, I built all those and started like, all right, I need something else to do, and I saw this flag on Facebook, these like wavy American flags made out of wood. And I'm like, I got to try that. That is cool, right? So someone I keep in touch with since school is a good friend, Jordan Katzenberger. And, he's a Marine in the National Guard now. And he's like, I'll take the other one. Meaning, when I made the first one, you actually end up with two because of the way you cut the wood. So he was what I call a prototype. Okay.
Nice.
And so is mine. So anyway, it turned out pretty good. And did the traditional red, white, and blue, dremeled all the stars by hand. I mean, that's just a couple hours alone. So I know you kind of mentioned earlier, you wanted to kind of understand how it's made.
Yeah. So, cause I mean, when I look at these flags that you make, they're 1x1s, 1.5x1s.
Actually 2x4s.
They're 2x. Oh, okay. See, I wasn't even freaking close. So they look like 1x1s,
right? That
are pushed and glued together. But please take the floor.
You're not wrong. I've actually used like 1x4s. I've used 2x4s. It just depends on what size flag, and we can get to that as well. But this was just the prototype.
So the prototype.
2x4s. Yeah. So what you do, you have this wave, this template that you draw on to a 2x4, the face of it, right? And then you take a jigsaw, take it, down the center and wave it, if you will. Flip those boards up. Now you got 13 stripes. So I would clamp those together, and now I'm taking an angle grinder to shape all that. So it's a specific like disc for that angle grinder to shred wood, basically.
Okay.
Moves it pretty well. And then once I'm done with that, we sand it to, up to 220 grit. Real exciting stuff, right? Sanding is the longest part. It's the worst part.
I took wood shop too, God. Right. And I built some things out of wood since then. And you get the sand, you're like, all right, I'm getting there. And you're like, oh no, this is the sanding part.
This is the worst. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and again, this is all before we kind of, I was just using some basic battery tools, cheaper. And there's nothing wrong with it, Ryobi tools, right? And I'm just getting after it. And I have this little rigid orbital sander. It's only, a couple amps. So it's not really shredding a lot of wood, but it's working, It
works. Might take a little longer, but
that's right.
You have time at this point.
I got 10 weeks to work from home for work and can't go anywhere. So I was like, I guess I'll do this. And I started doing a lot of audibles, listening to books and stuff. So anyway, fast forward. I give one to my parents, my brothers, my sister, hook everyone up, right? And then I go live with it on Facebook. And I told Kendall, I'm like, I think this is something that we might be able to, sell, right? And so we posted on Facebook, and within, an hour, I think I had 5 orders, including you, Kyle. I mean, you were one of my first customers. I'm
awesome.
Not kidding.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I was like, this is cool. And I told Kendall, I'm like, look, I need to buy some new tools because I got these battery tools and I'm using all the batteries. I've got 4 chargers. They can't keep up.
Yeah, you're waiting on them. You're like,
right.
Come on, I'm here. Let's get this done.
Yeah, exactly. So I tooled up a little bit.
So what'd you get?
I bought a Milwaukee corded grinder. And the reason I did it,
they're awesome.
They are, yeah.
Freaking awesome.
I got some big hands, but, trying to hold that all day for a couple hours trying to grind, it's, I found one that has a really good contour. I don't know if that's the word, but good grip, if you will. Works really well. And I'm really happy with that purchase. Burned out the Ryobi jigsaw. So I bought a, it starts smoking. It's just, I'm like, I kind of saw that I saw that coming, right? You're just abusing it, but, I bought a Bosch jigsaw, corded. And again, when you're woodworking, you don't really need to tool up in the battery stuff. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I would go to Google and be like, all right, I got $150, top 10, right? Give me the pros and cons. And that's kind of how I make my tool selection. So now I have a variety of just different tools.
Different stuff that you use all the time.
That's right. Yeah. And the sanding, burned out the little rigid orbital, and again, that went up in smoke. I'm like, all right, well, abuse that one a little too much, but and when I say abuse, I mean I'm not tossing them or throwing them. It just gave out. It's just too much.
Well, you start taking that grinder, and so after you let me ask a question because I got a point that I'm going to forget that once we get moving forward. So, do you glue the pieces all together then?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. So once it's sanded. And the reason I keep it all clamped together is because then I take it apart in strips. It's still in strips. And that's when I stain it. Now, it's not wrong. Some people glue it together first, grind it and sand it, but then they're taping all of their lines. and I didn't really want to risk that stain bleeding through the tape because, you know, you can get all the frog tape you want and it just bleeds right underneath. And
sometimes.
I've had it happen. Yeah. So keeping them separate, it's a little bit easier for us. And at the time it was me. It was just me working on them. But then Kendall started getting involved as well. She's like, oh, I'm going to start helping you because I got, you know, you got 10 flags to build, right? So, you know, you find ways to improve, make it better. I mean, we've changed up a lot of it since the beginning. Different stain, different sealer, how we apply it to make it more efficient, but also look better. You know, we want to keep it looking good.
Absolutely.
Right?
So when you're grinding the wave into the flag, do you do that on each individual piece, or when you push it together, then you grind it down to make that look like that wave?
That's exactly right. So when it's all pushed together, clamped together, then I grind it.
Then you make the wave.
Then and it's the wave is kind of in general when you jigsaw it, because you're cutting the wave and then you flip the board up, and then when you get 13 strips together, it's got a general rough wave, and then you grind it to really get it smooth. And then you follow it up with some sanding. We do like 4 grits from 80 to 220, get it really smooth. So,
and I'm sure you got a handheld electric sander that you're doing that with.
Yeah, that's funny. You know, I talked to Jack Berry a lot, and he was telling me about Festool. He's like, you got to get this Festool Rotex. It'll shred that wood. And I'm like, all right, well, it's just a hobby. Like, I don't want to spend all that money. I'm sure it's a great tool, right? I can't justify it, you know? So finally the rigid sander burns out, buy a little Bosch one, and Bosch, I'm like, all right, this one is quieter. It's, you know, it fits in the hand a little bit better, and it doesn't vibrate and all the way up your arm. So
arm's dead in freaking 30 minutes. It's like, God, I got 5 flags to go. Come on.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we invested in the Bosch. It's a big sander like the Festool, and I'm not gonna, you know, go, you know, brand and start a fight here, but I think it would hold its own against the Festool. I watched a lot of YouTube videos because, you know, the money to me, $300 sander versus $700, that's a big difference, right?
Big difference.
So I've been pretty happy with the $300 Bosch ones. Kendall actually surprised me with one. And it does great. It cut our sanding in half
wow.
in time. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah. So
when you, from start to finish, how long does it take you to build one? Give or take. I'm not saying, you know, it's 3 hours and 22 minutes and 18 seconds.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good question. A lot of people ask that. We can rip it out pretty quick of your size, which is like 19 inch by 37. I would say all in probably 5 hours tops.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and I don't want to say perfected it, but we've kind of come a long way.
Because the next question I'm going to ask is, how many flags have you made?
Oh, a couple hundred. Easy. Yeah. So from that time to now, which it's been a couple years now, we've done quite a few craft shows. I should have the number off the top of my head.
No, I don't. I just was. Well, what I'm saying is from flag 10 to flag 150.
Yeah.
You're going to make some changes in there that's going to trim time down.
Yeah.
Excel the process moving forward, so you're not taking 10 hours to do it. Now you're taking 5 hours to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And we also do it kind of on we build multiple at once, right? So instead of just whipping one out, which I have just to get it done, you know, we're doing an assembly line. We're doing it in stages. You know, we're cutting all the wood to length. We're grinding it all at the same time. We're sanding it together. Excuse me.
You're fine. You're good.
Beer.
Damn Coors Light making him burp. What's wrong with you?
We'll cut that out.
No, we won't.
All right. Thanks. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I mean, we've found different ways to make it a little bit faster, just, you know, make it easier on us, and more efficient and more effective. So
when did you decide, like, hey, I'm going to build a website?
Yeah, good question. So we were invited to Rush Creek out in Harvard. They were like, hey, we got a farmer's market we'd like you to attend. We, you know, see your stuff online, That's when Kendall and I started doing different size flags, different designs, different colors, back the blue, back the red, green line for veterans, things like that. 17.
Which all of them are really cool.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm going to be displaying them right now so people can see what they're looking at.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, some of them are pretty awesome.
Yeah, and they come in different sizes too. Some people just want one, on the side of their barn, a nice big one, and then maybe one little one on the mantle or something. So that's why we try to bring it down to, different styles, different price ranges, things like that to meet the budget, meet the style.
Yeah, that's right, because not everybody's going to want a 3 foot by 3 foot American flag that's made out of wood. Some people might want them a little smaller than that to fit a specific wall or to do something like that. So it's really good that you're able to kind of custom make whatever your customer might want moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. And so Rush Creek invited us out. We did a couple of craft shows, if you will. We set up a little tent and showed our items and stuff. Got a couple of orders, and we're like, man, we want to start doing this a little bit more. So we started looking into different craft shows. Fall Diddley out in Boone County. We did another craft show up in Elkhorn, and we've done those both twice now. So in the process of that, we were also wanting to sell our house in Palatine. We bought in 2016, and we always knew we wanted to move back countryside, back to northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin. That was our goal, Wisconsin, but we would settle for northern Illinois.
It's pretty up here.
It is. Her parents live here. My parents live in Harvard. So it's commuting an hour just to go to Thanksgiving, 2-3 times in a weekend was getting a lot. And we wanted to be back close to family and friends. So we ended up in Twin Lakes. So we were getting our house ready for sale, but at the same time we were trying to do craft shows as well. So we had so many projects. And we still do with the new house we bought. But once it's up and running, we'll have about 2,000 square feet for a barn space.
Oh, cool!
Yeah, so we're super excited.
So you can move this business into the barn then.
Yeah, going from like a little tiny basement to a 1-car garage to out of our garage now to this barn, which is the ultimate goal.
You guys will like that.
I can't wait.
So much room.
Yeah. And I got to think, my parents, my brother, Dave, he's been a huge help with construction on the barn. It was a structure already there, but it was just cold storage. There's literally, it's a brown pole building. There's no garage door. There's no service door, gravel. There's no water, electric, nothing. Okay. And it's been that way for 30 years.
Hello, structure.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, it still needs a lot of work, but, Owen and the Powells, they helped us out immensely, getting water to it. We had electric put in, separate amp, 200 amp breaker box.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we can keep it separate, like from the house and build a business, if you will.
Yeah, that's a good idea because then if you separate all that out, hey, I know how much money I'm spending on electric versus the business versus the house, and the business is a lot more.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
It probably will be just because of all the tools you're going to be running out there.
Yeah. And it's also a hobby barn too, because Kendall, she just got her chickens. We got 10 chickens the other day. So that's exciting. We're getting our own eggs, and that's all her. I'm not against them at all. It is funny. I like watching them. I call them little dinosaurs. They're I don't want to say aggressive, but they'll eat anything.
Pretty much. Put any bug in front of them, they'll eat it.
They'll eat it.
Put a snake in front of them, they'll eat it.
Yep. It's fun to watch her goals and dreams kind of come to life too. And the reason I say that is because the barn, we're probably going to put up a wall kind of halfway. I'm going to favor it a little bit though. Just a couple feet. She, maybe down the road, maybe get some horses and goats or something.
So I got to go back to so you went to these craft shows and then you decided at that point, hey, we need to build a website.
Yeah, forgive me. I didn't answer your question.
No, you're fine. I know. Well, that's the fun part about podcasts. You just never know where it's going to go.
Yeah. So the question would be that we were getting, do you take credit card? So we were like, yes, we invested in one of those swipers, and it comes with a website. You pay, it's like $30 a month, I think. But then you get a website, and then you can swipe the credit cards.
Oh, that all kind of comes in one, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And we just take our phones to
I did not know that.
Right. It's super convenient because everyone walks around with a credit card, right? So if you're at a craft show and there's no ATMs, I got to have that flag. Oh, don't worry, we take credit card, right? So it
only costs you $30 more, but we'll take your credit. No, I'm just kidding.
No, yeah, we don't upcharge. We just kind of take it. And, it's cool to see, our brand get out there.
It is.
And we'll get a lot of compliments. Hey, we really like the wave. I've seen the flat ones done, which is great too. We've done flat flags. I admire a lot of builders that do them as well. And they're very creative, different colors and designs. It's really cool what some people can do. But when it comes to the wave, you'll watch people, they'll walk by, and I kid you not, they'll just look at your flag and make that wave, and they're just like pointing it out to their friend that they're walking next to, like, look at that.
That's cool. Yeah. How the hell does he do that?
Yeah,
that was my first question. Like, how the hell does he do this?
We have numerous signs because we'll put them on a stand, and the worst thing we want is them to fall over. I mean, it's pretty structural stand and sturdy, but
still,
someone knocks into it, and there goes the $400 flag, and it it's not going to shatter, but it's going to be dented and whatever. And
beat up now, which somebody might like. I don't know.
Yeah, that's an extra $50.
Yeah, just because it fell on the floor. So
we have these signs, these pictures that say "Do not touch." Please enjoy. We just don't want anyone to get hurt. Mostly kids, right? But they'll come up, they'll touch the flag, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I saw the sign." But it's like, it's okay. We just don't want people to get hurt. But they're just like trying to figure out, is it a paint effect or is it the actual wood?
That's
yeah. And then their next question is like, how do you do that? And I'm like, a lot of angle gun. And it's all done by hand, literally. Like, we don't have a CNC machine. And we've had some people come up like,
not yet.
We don't. Yeah, we don't. It's true, because it's on in the conversation once that barn is done.
Well, honey, we're really gonna have to update some of these tools here.
Yeah, $30,000 little CNC machine.
It's all right. Ain't nothing but money, baby.
That's right.
They make more every day.
That's right. Well, we had these people. There's been some people that come up. They're like, "No way, you do that by hand." We're like, "Yeah." I mean, I don't want to be called a liar, but I'm like, I'm not really offended. But
here's my pictures on my phone that I
100%. Yeah. And Kendall has had this gentleman come up. He's like, he kind of eyeballed it, and he's like, "Oh, you got a CNC machine?" She's like, "No, it's by hand." He's like, "Yeah, right." And I wasn't
you
there,
can't, you really can't tell.
Well,
I mean, even your original one, one of the first ones, which I have, you really can't tell that that's by hand, because it's all fairly smooth across there, and each board really falls into the next one, and you really can't tell.
I will say it's gotten better. I can tell any mistakes that might have been made. Half of woodworking is like figuring out how to fix the mistake you just made.
Absolutely.
And there have been times where, late in the basement, I would be at work all day, right, 7 to 5 or whatever. Get home, okay, I really got to get these flags done for customers. I told them, 2 to 3 weeks, and we're down to the wire.
Kind of slacked off for 2 weeks. It's time to get after it.
That's right. The biggest challenge was, with the grinding, it causes so much sawdust. I have to do it outside. And I was living in suburbia, and my neighbors were like, "What the hell is going on over there all week?"
8 o'clock at night. Come on, man. Cut her off.
Yeah, but anyway, I would try to get my cutting and grinding done outside on the weekends, and then move it inside for staining and clear coating in the basement and assembly. And I was just, I have a nail gun now, and I was lazy. And there's certain ways you should shoot nail guns if you wanted the nail to set right. And I was being lazy, wasn't paying attention. It shot right out the face and ruined my stain and clear coat. And I'm like, of course. And there was one of those nights that I just shut off the lights and went upstairs. I'm like, I'm done for the night, because I need to get this.
Can't do anything right.
It was one of those nights. It was one after another.
We all have those days, right? Like everything that we touch just goes to shit.
Yep.
And so you start off, it happens first thing in the morning, and you're like, it'll be all right. And then like 30 minutes later, it happens. Like, motherfucker, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Is this how this day is going to go? And by like 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock tonight, you're like, I'm just done. I'm not even going to touch the freaking remote because the battery is going to be dead.
That's right.
I'm just done.
TV's going to hang off or fall off the wall 100%. I mean, there have been days that it just, I'm like, I'm done. But for the most part, I really do enjoy doing it. I like to listen to books, audibles, and variety of different things. So it's kind of a time where I can just think about my day or whatever I want to do. Or really a lot of it is like about my next project. Like, I want to try this. I'm doing a lot of these American flags now. I want to do this style, this color. And then, again, going back to the house sale in Palatine, I was also building her a desk, which took 2 years because we were doing craft shows. I'm like, okay, well, the desk goes to the side. I'm not going to work on it. We're going to sell the house. Okay, I'm not going to work on it. We buy a new house. I'm not working on it. I finally got it done this winter.
Good deal.
I know.
I'm sure she's pumped about it.
I was real happy because I started working from home. And I was using this 6-foot folding table, and she had the nicer wooden desk that we bought off Craigslist or whatever. It's real cheap.
It works.
It works, yeah. And so finally she got this brand new desk and, nice ambrosia maple. She picked the color, all that good stuff. And then I took her hand-me-down desk and, now I'm, thinking about I need to build a desk too for myself. But
so is that,
oh,
man, I forgot what I was going to say. Gosh, darn it. Oh, so are you still planning on going to Fall Diddleys and things like that?
Yeah, good question. So our first year at Fall Diddley, which was 2 years ago, we've done it twice now. The first year we got set in their barn. And if you've ever been, Boone County Fairgrounds, really awesome place, obviously. It's like the barn that we're in, it's the first one at the entrance of the gates.
Yes.
So our first year we were, and we had done Rush Creek, which was great. It was a good experience. And the folks at Rush Creek are just wonderful. Great to talk to and great company. So it was good for both parties, right? Trying to attract business for both. But, Boone County, there's hundreds of vendors. There's thousands of people. We're like, whoa, and we have this little 10 by 10 booth and we're just like crammed in and we're like not really sure what to expect, right? Are people going to like our stuff? And we were nervous, but, again, Rush Creek helped us out. So gates open, I can't remember the time, but people are running into our building. I'm not kidding, running. They're sprinting. And we're like, what's going on, right? Like they're running right past us and they go to this gal in the corner and she's selling these like fall like pumpkin figurines, like gourds. I don't even know. They're cool, but people, she was sold out within hours, just gone. Everything.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like, I hope we have that problem.
Darn it.
We came prepared with order forms, things like that.
And I'm sure you probably had half a dozen or 8 or 10 flags on hand, so you could people could see the different designs and shapes and sizes and lengths and widths and heights and everything else to go with it.
That is 100% correct. Yeah, and that's the challenge too. A little 10 by 10 booth. That space goes really quick.
Not far from the size of this room.
For sure. And then when you're talking a big item, if you're just selling, I don't want to say small trinkets, I mean that respectfully.
Yeah.
You can get thousands of options.
Right.
And that's great. You want people to see that. So we had, I think, our first sale in like 15 minutes. We were thrilled to death. We're like, oh, this is great. Like, I hope that keeps up, right? People are stopping and they're just admiring and paying compliments and all sorts of stuff. Just, hey, back the blue, back the red, firefighters, all sorts. Oh, it's so patriotic. Love it, right? And it makes us feel good, and just a short background. My dad was in the Navy. My grandpa, military as well. My oldest brother, Dan, he's coming on 18, 19 years in the Navy as well.
No kidding.
Yeah. So
still in the Navy.
Yeah. And we can talk about that for sure. And so very patriotic family. We definitely want to help those, that serve, or, the image, if you will. Right. So anyway, we sold out of quite a few different flags, different designs. And we were like, whoa, and we were thrilled to death. We did great. But it's like, what could we do better? And the following year, which was this last October, we knew what to bring. And what it was the smaller bookshelf flags. So the one you got, we call the standard, which is about 37 inches wide, 3 feet, right?
Standard.
The big one, right?
That's me, the standard edition, baby.
That's right. The prototype. These ones we call like bookshelf, which are only like, 1.5 feet wide and maybe a foot tall. Sit on them.
Those are cool, though.
Yeah, they're perfect. I mean, they're not too heavy, and those are our main bread and butter now.
No kidding. You sell a pile of them, huh?
Tons of them. Yeah, I mean, people always want the smaller one because they're like, I just don't know where I'm going to put that big one. And I'll just be like, well, get two.
That's a good salesman right there.
Yeah, always trying to, upsell, cross-sell. And there have been times where there have been some items that haven't moved in our booth. And we took it to Fall Diddley twice. The following year, it didn't sell. And then finally, we sold it in Elkhorn. And I told the gal, I'm like, hey, if you buy this and you were eyeballing that, I'll, discount it. Because I don't want to carry it down the stairs back to the car. They don't need to know that. But
that's the crappy part about going to them shows is like, whatever you don't say, like, oh, I got to take that all the way back to the freaking car.
That's right.
Oh!
And it is challenging, too, because at the end of the weekend, people just want to get out of there. They're packing up their booth. And I don't want to say they're rude, but they'll park.
Yeah, rude.
They'll park right in the entrance. I'm like, I just want to get my dolly into the concrete so I can move this stuff.
I was going to tell you, I don't know. I mean, obviously, you guys are full blown into this thing. Hence the swag. You might want to think about like actually taking a week and going to like a Boone County fair, because they get 200,000 people in 6 days, 5 days.
Yeah, absolutely. There have been, and this is a conversation even I've had with my boss at work, who's a really good mentor, a really good supporter of, what I do here for Gray Muzzle, but also, for my, sales job as well. He's very good at, helping me come up with different ideas. And really the delay right now is just working on the barn. It's not that we don't have the space. I mean, we could, use the garage in its entirety.
This podcast episode is sponsored by Dan's Diesel Performance. If you're looking to improve your truck's performance, efficiency, or appearance, check out Dan's Diesel Performance. They manufacture turbochargers, fuel injectors, fuel pumps, transmissions, intake piping, and much, much more. Plus, they offer all the top brands in the diesel industry. They're located in Machesney Park, Illinois. Visit their website at dansdieselperformance.com or give them a call at 815-977-5865.
But I know once we have the barn set up, because right now we're pulling machines out of the garage, setting in the driveway,
hammering them out, hammering 5 out at a time or whatever, putting it back away. I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, so it'll be nice to just turn the switch on one day, get to work, and then
cut them all down to size, and then cut the next one down to size, and then got the paint booth ready to go. So
100%, and that's something we used to do too, is brush by hand, and now we spray, and it gives a better finish, and it much faster.
So I learned something the other day too. If you really want, are you having any? Oh, I don't even want. Nope, we're not going there. We're gonna change. Yep, no, we're good. So how long do you think before you're gonna have your barn ready to go?
Good question. So we were kind of waiting for the ground to dry up. We're east of the lake, we're like 1 mile, and it seems like that water level is just. It was causing so much issues. And when Owen Powell dug for the PEX line, for the water line, did a great job from house to barn. He was super helpful. We appreciate that. And, he backfilled as much as he could. And then I told myself, oh, I'll get to hooking up that PEX line in the winter and spring because I don't want to be out in the cold, you know?
Yeah, it's cold outside. I don't want to be there.
Like I'm lazy.
That's that.
Yeah, we were trying to do a craft show in the winter, and and then it was Christmas, and then New Year's. You know how that goes, right? And then I had to travel to Houston for work. So all these things were just adding up. I'm like, I'll get it in spring. And so I had my brother Dave come out. He helped me hook up the PEX line in the basement to the well and the pump and stuff like that. So now I have water connected there. But I didn't hook up in the barn. And Owen had left a pit, so the PEX line was coming up into the barn. And I wanted to wrap that with like a PVC to protect it. But that pit was just filled with water. And I would pump it out with a sub pump, but it would fill back up within 20 minutes. I mean, it was just gushing. So anyway, enough about that. We finally got that all taken care of this last weekend. So we are now ready for cement.
Cool.
So I reached out to the cement guy. I am itching. Like, we can't wait. So once that's done.
Are you putting heat in the floor then?
You know what? We didn't. And I know you brought that up with Jack, and I've talked with Jack about it too. And I'm like, man, it would be great. I worked at a Lumitank for years. They had heated floors. It's wonderful. It's
wonderful.
It is. Until you see the price of it, I'm like, horses don't really need heated floor.
The thing is, though, is when you put that the PEX down, or the apex, or whatever you want to call it, that goes in it's not that much more. Now, by the time you buy the boiler system and all that kind of stuff, that's where your money comes into play.
Yeah.
But to put the PEX in the concrete, it's really not that much more money.
Yeah, and we definitely, you're absolutely right, and it really is something I wanted to do. And we were quoted on it. Like, I like to think that my abilities and my brother's abilities are up there, but nowhere near as like a professional, like plumber or electrician.
They know what the hell they do it every day, so it's like,
exactly.
Okay, just go fucking do it.
Yeah. So I asked a plumber, hey, how much would it be to heat this barn, floor heat and stuff, and I'll lay the PEX line for you. I'll even put the insulation down and acquire all the stuff. And we were still upwards of 10, 12, 15 grand. I'm like, man, if I'm putting $15,000 worth of heat in,
that's a lot of flags you got to sell, boy.
That's a lot of flags, yeah. But I was like, I'm thinking to myself, man, I work for a fan company. We test air conditioners and stuff like that. And I'm like, why don't I just put in ductwork with air conditioning and heat? That's
okay. See, now you're talking a little bit more my style.
Well, right. I'm like, it's going to get hot out there, and I'm like, again, because this is not my full-time job, it's just nights and weekends. I'm like, well, do I really want to put that much money into heating the barn, which is 6 months out of the year, right? I'm a big guy. I can sweat in a snowstorm. I will be out in the barn with shorts and a T-shirt and 55 degrees and be perfectly happy.
As long as you're moving.
Yeah, if I'm moving.
Same way. Keep me moving. I don't care what temp is outside. I'll be fine.
Right. And there's guys that'll say, well, when you're working on the ground, I'm like, exactly. That's a really good point. If you're a mechanic, you're working on your car or tractors or whatever it is, absolutely get that heated floor. I'm standing up, so
you're working up here most of the time.
Yeah. I'm tabletop height. And again, I think it would be great. We're just
you got to watch your budget too.
The
obviously.
Budget, yeah.
Everybody's got to do that. You got to pick and choose. Like, okay, well now, like you said, I didn't even think about the whole. Oh, maybe I can put a little air conditioning in this thing. So when it's in July and it's 97 and I'm grinding away on this son of a bitch, I'm at least going, 68 degrees in here. Right. It's pretty nice.
And there's no bugs, and yeah, that's something I thought of. But I think what we're going to do is just get a corner 80,000 BTU unit.
That'll be plenty.
I've been in barns with that, and I'm perfectly fine. And so it all comes down to budget. Next question is, how do we insulate it? We got a quote for the spray foam. Everyone's like, it's the best. And I'm like, I believe it. But it's also $17,000, and I'm like, oh, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of flags again. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it would be great structurally, keep bugs, pests, rodents out, all that stuff. I think there's a lot of positive behind it. It's just budget. Is that really what I want? So again, when this barn becomes like half woodworking, half animals, maybe down the road as we kind of establish, and maybe we put up another barn where we make it perfect for
or you
working.
can add on to it or whatever the case you want to do.
100%. Exactly. And so again, it comes down to budget. Like, what do we need? What do we want?
Oh, I totally get it.
Yeah.
I just was, we were talking about concrete. And I just thought, hey, maybe you put that in the floor, and
what I did
it's
do,
really nice.
I put a trench drain in, so that way I can wash my cars in the winter and
there you go.
Pull the 4-wheeler in after you plow snow, because I don't want it in the garage and track it in the house. It's like we try to keep it where what would make the most sense, like that way I don't have to clean the inside of the house because you're just tracking crap in, right? So it's basic things like that. So I think the trench drain will be great. That was another project that my brother helped me out with. Thank God. It's going on a curve, slight angle. You can see it. It's not going to look good. And we had to
let her go, I guess.
Rip it up.
Don't matter to me.
That's right. Everyone has. It's like a resume. Everyone has an idea. Like, do
absolutely.
Change that. Do a bathroom now. Like, or add the piping in. I'm like, yeah, it's like the barn's 75 feet from the house, so like
I can walk that.
I'll be fine.
At that point in time, it's like, man, I got to walk away from this anyway. My forearms are killing me, or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But you're still taking orders, though. Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah, we actually partnered up with a local little place called Rubber Ducky Country Market out in Twin Lakes.
Nice.
Yeah. And how we got connected there when we first bought our house back in July 22, Kendall mentioned this little country market store. We saw the signs, and she's like, "Oh, let's go check it out." So we go down there, and it's like 2 or 3 houses down, and little old farm, old apple orchard actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and they're trying to the couple that own it. They actually rent the building, and we started talking. I mean, they have a lot of great items in there. Homemade jams, jellies, eggs, steaks. I mean, all sorts of things a country store would have. So started talking to the owner, and he's like, adding a bar over here. And I'm like, oh, are you going to have spotted cow? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I know where I'm going to be going.
God, you're only 3 houses down. I can stumble home, yeah. Kendall. Can you believe this?
And now they're saying, oh, you might be, you can get your ATV out on the road. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Like, I'm in heaven, and so.
Guess no flags are getting made now, huh?
Yeah, that's right. So they actually, we kind of worked a deal, and, they get a little percentage, and they display our flags for us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So they've helped us get some, business and flags out there. They just sold one the other day, and we whipped it out within a couple weeks.
Perfect.
So going back to like when you asked how long it takes, overall, I said 5 hours for that standard flag, but what takes time is the drying process. You got to stain it.
Oh, yeah.
Wait a couple hours at least. Usually I would stain at night, go to bed, come back the next day and clear coat it or whatever. And then again, wait a couple hours between coats. So you can't rush that. When you glue it all together, I like to give it 24 hours and then come back and, work on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we've invested in a lot of clamps. You can never have enough clamps. So if I'm giving advice to any woodworker or anyone that wants to get involved, I'm just a novice, but clamps, all sorts of styles, colors, design, I don't care. Just get them. If you see them on sale, if you see them on Facebook, grab them. You can never have enough.
You're not wrong. Well, and with what you're doing when you're making these different sizes and all that, it's good to have a different variety of clamps.
That's right.
That way and plus enough of them, because if all of a sudden you get 10 orders in a day, oh shit, we got to go.
Yeah, that's right.
We got to get to work.
We were just at Lowe's the other day. I saw some on clearance, and there was 5 packages, and I grabbed 2. Excuse me, I think there was 4. And Kendall was standing there next to me. I grabbed 2 packages, and I'm like, I kind of want that 3rd one. But I should probably get the 4th one so it's not lonely. She's like, you're so dumb. I'm like, I know, but I know.
Yeah, but you like me.
That's right. But, so I ended up getting 2. I'm like, all right, so there's never enough. But
what, oh, man, I still can't remember that friggin' question I was going to ask you.
It's all right. Well, tell me about your podcast. How'd you get involved with that? And we can go back to flags.
It's funny because I work for the local township, And last summer, you're mowing ditches, so it's a mind-numbing job. And so I was listening to podcasts and music, and I get kind of bored listening to music sometimes. Then I switch to podcasts, and then I get tired listening to podcasts, so I switch back to music. Well, anyway, so I was listening to this podcast, couldn't even tell you what it was about, and I just thought, I could do that.
Yeah,
like it can't be that hard, right? Like it can't. You get the right equipment, which, lo and behold, up until about 2 months ago, I didn't have the right equipment, but I was like, it can't be that hard, right? To sit down and talk. And, I'm a little bit gun shy when it comes to cameras. I'm not anymore, but when it comes to cameras and stuff, I was a little gun shy. But anyway, so I just thought, I'm gonna try.
Sure.
So I reached out to a friend of mine, and, she kind of pointed me in a direction, and I went that direction. And the first, whatever, I think 10, 11 episodes, it was that direction. And then we ended up going this direction where we're at now, which has turned out way better. No offense to her, it's just the way that it worked. And then I told myself, like, I don't want a one-person podcast, because you're going to run out of shit to talk about. At least I'm going to run out of shit to talk about eventually. So I thought if I could bring folks in that want to, whether it's their business, whether they want to talk politics, whether they want to talk farming, whether they want to talk whatever. You want to come sit across the table with me for an hour and a half and, have a beverage or two and shoot the shit, let's do it. And I just, at first I told people, like, I think I'm going to start a podcast. Like, you let me know, I'll come over, So I had quite a few people come over, and then, I just been reaching out to folks I think that I could hopefully help benefit them.
Yeah.
And it's not that I have, 5 million viewers. It's not even close to that, but
not yet.
You never know. I mean, well, like in your situation, maybe I get 2 people that look at this and go, hey, you know what? I'm going to go check your website out, which is
GrayMuzzleWoodwork.com.
Yeah. GrayMuzzleWoodwork.com.
Yeah.
And maybe they go there and put a couple orders in for you. Well, guess what? So it took a couple of hours out of your time, but you still came over and bullshit with me.
Well,
and maybe you get something out of the deal.
I was going to say, we haven't talked in quite a while. I mean, I'm trying to remember the last time we caught up, but
it's been a while.
Yeah. But, back to the podcast, you have the personality for it. You're, people person. You can talk with people very easily, right? Whether you're related to them, or friends, family, et cetera. And different topics, and that's important when it comes to this kind of thing.
Well, and I like to learn too, right? So,
right.
I could have done a ton of research on what you do for your flags and how you do it. Mm-hmm. But I was like, why? You're going to literally come here and you're going to tell me how to do it. You're going to tell me how you work it and how you do it. That's what I care about, because I want to learn the how part, right? Yeah. Or I understand the why part. You like to do it, a little extra income,
right? Spend
time with the honey. It's great.
Speaking of income, we have the business account. We separated it, but really it's just reinvesting in the business.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And every time we make money, per se, we're like, oh, I want to buy that tool now.
Yeah, every time you see a little bit in that bank account, you're like, oh, look at that.
Right.
We can invest in a new sander or some clamps.
That's right. So, and that's a funny topic. So I have this cheap table saw. It was like $200. It's just, they call it a job site saw, so it folds up on the stand, and it's the cheapest of the cheap. I'm not going to get into brands on that one, but you'll make fun of me. But anyway,
it works though.
I bought it because I made some cedar Adirondack chairs for her for a Christmas present a couple years ago, and I'm like, I can make those. I want to, and they turned out good in my opinion. And anyway,
hell yeah.
And we can get pictures of that. So I have been using this table saw probably 5 years now, and it won't quit. And I'm like, wow, I'm surprised it hasn't started on fire.
Turn the button and it starts. Damn it, I got to use it again today.
That's right. And I mean, we went from softwood, pine, and Douglas fir and cedar, things like that, to hardwood, and it's chugging along. So anyway, as we get into, she's starting to get into it. She's like, well, buy this or get this. You should really get that. She's like, what if the main sander breaks? We should get a backup. And I'm like, okay. And, I'm like, where's this coming from?
Yes, honey.
I'm
We
like,
need several backups.
I was like, where is this coming from? I've never heard this in my life. Well, it's for the business now, so we have multiple grinders, multiple sanders, and, we could have gotten by with one, but sometimes we are sanding together because there is so much sanding to do. But anyway, this table saw that won't quit. I'm at Home Depot. I literally am either at Home Depot or Menards 1 to 2 times a week.
Is that where you get all your wood?
No, I kind of shop around. There's hardwood stores,
Gotcha.
but if it's just 2x4s, then Menards or Home Depot. Hardwood, I don't go to the box store. I go to a kind of custom
Private guys.
Yeah, because it's a lot better quality.
Oh, I agree.
Just
a question.
So they have this rigid table saw, this contractor saw. So no longer like, or it's a shop saw, if you will, whatever you want to call it. And they mark it on clearance to $400 from, I don't know, it's like $750. And to me, that's a lot of money. I'm like, for just a hobby business, that's, quite a bit of money. And I wanted to get it. And it drops down to $325. I mean, I just watch it, and it's just coming down in price. She's like, let's get a saw stop. And I'm like, you know how much those are, because that's going to be about $3,000 to $4,000, right? She's like, yeah, but it's cheaper than a hospital bill. And I'm like, okay, touche, you are right. And
she ain't wrong with that one.
That's right. I'm like, well, you're right. I'm like, again, where's this coming from? And so as
she don't want you to sue the business.
That's right. That's why we made an LLC. So it's really only worth a couple of drills. Here's a flag and a drill.
Yeah. Congratulations. Good luck.
That's right. And I'm not mocking her. She really is great.
No, I'm just making fun to make fun.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, yeah, when we have the barn, we'll get the 3, 4, 5 horsepower table saw, and we'll shop that when it comes time.
Yeah.
And I was really, it's cool to see her come. It's a hobby for both of us. And she's involved, I'm involved, and there's days that are, you just go and shop together and you're like, well, I'm going to go do this. You have fun or whatever it is.
Yep.
But, we want to get into some cutting boards, things like that, but you really need a quality saw for that, good blade. And we've done some table saws, have had a little bit of success with it, but if you want to get those really custom ones, you got to have really clean cuts and things like that.
So that was my next and probably final question. Mm-hmm. Do you do anything else other than flags at this moment?
Yeah, good question. So, we do more than flags. We've done coffee tables for someone, end tables, sofa table, and something that's just a little. We make a squirrel table. It's like a little feeder table. It's the funniest little thing, but. Adirondack chairs, outdoor furniture, planters,
okay. Cool.
Crosses. We do some skulls and things like that. So
cool.
Flat, wavy, pretty much you name it.
That's good to know for the future then, because I got some landscaping that's going to get done around here this summer. So you just never know. You might be getting a phone call from me, be like, hey, can you do it in a week? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. That's the challenge too between full-time jobs
I
and
can
stuff.
imagine.
Yeah. And we, my parents got us a Cricut machine, which cuts like vinyl, decal, things like that. So at first we were using it for stencils, but then we can also get vinyl. So now we're but cutting out, logos for, people. So,
that's cool.
Yeah. A couple approached us. They're like, hey, we want a set of backboards with our, wedding date on there and then the background where we were married. So we took that picture and, black vinyl and put it right on the backboards.
Really?
Clear coated over. Yeah, it looked really sharp. And, it was very basic, very clean, and it turned out great, because you're not putting a ton of detail. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, Dean, we got to wrap this up. We've been talking for well over an hour now.
Yeah,
it's amazing how fast it goes.
It did go quick. I'm a chatty Cathy. I apologize.
Oh, you're good. That's why I got you here.
But I appreciate the invite. This is awesome.
We'll do it again.
Very good. Yeah, best of luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.